Hi everyone, this is Tucker from Delta Drive Designs. I'm here bringing you a new series on the resto mod of this 1964 Jeep M-677. So fasten your seatbelts and subscribe for a whirlwind of videos covering exciting topics like unconventional motor swaps down to the minutia of basic sheet metal repair. To kick off this series, I want to give you a quick history on this truck. Then we will do a detailed triage of the current condition, followed by a high-level description of the plan and associated pitfalls. Stay tuned and hope you enjoy. So first of all, this Jeep, I picked this up in New York. It's a 1964. The original owner was a sheet metal guy. He owned it for years. He was a sheet metal guy for like airplanes and stuff. So a lot of his repairs are super obvious because they'll have rivets and stuff in it. Here, I'll show you an example. Like this guy, you can tell he repaired it because it's sheet metal and he riveted it in place. As you can see, it's quite rusty, so I'll have my work cut out for me. Thing hasn't run since probably late 80s, early 90s. It sat in a field in upstate New York rotting. Previous owner, he ended up, I think he sold it to a neighbor, and then the neighbor was going to fix it, didn't fix it, and it just sat there and rotted and rotted. So that's why you see it's in a little rough shape. So let's go ahead and go through a triage on it. As you can see, it's more rust than not, I suppose. Like all the doors, I mean, this one's probably the worst of the doors, because like you can see, an animal has like made a nest in the bottom of it from all the seat material. So I assume the door is completely rotted all the way through. I assume the inside of the door is also pretty rotted. Yeah, this guy down here, I'm gonna have to rebuild the inside of this door pretty heavily. I'm hoping it doesn't go past like the bottom 8 inches. So that door is pretty bad. This door is also equally bad probably, but I don't think the inside of the door is quite as rotted. It was just water rust, not rodent rust. So let's go around to the other side. Cab corners, you know, that one's going to need repaired. Front of the cab, yeah, kind of your standard rust repair. Same here, that's going to need to be done. This door's not quite as bad, but I also suspect it's going to need reskinned on the bottom 8 inches. And then on the inside, probably a little rebuilding over in this corner. The doors are, yeah, and this door is a little better than the other side. Cab corner on this one's pretty bad as well. Let's take a look at the bed. The upper part of the bed isn't too bad. Let's see. Yeah, it's all right over there, but that corner is pretty heavily rotted, which then extends down to the frame rail underneath it. So that's going to have to be rebuilt. Not sure how far we'll have to go on the bed because it's pretty rotted as well. When I get back here, the tailgate isn't in bad condition. You have to use some glove to straighten up, and then the hinges are missing, so I'll have to refabricate or maybe find some of those. It's still got the original back bumper. You can tell it because it's got this like double C-channel welded with these giant hooks on it. The Navy used those for tying down this, because this is, I guess, back to the history of this. This is a Navy specific vehicle. They only made a few hundred of these for the Navy. And this is one of the very few survivors of it, which is why I'm willing to go through all the work of the sheet metal to fix all that, because it's so rare. I'd hate to see this go into the wrecker, because that's where it was heading if I hadn't saved it. But yeah, so the rear bumper, an owner at one point put this thing on. It's just heavy, unnecessary. So I'll pull it off. Probably one of the first things I pull off will be this and scrap it, because I don't see any need to keep it. And then frame-wise, frame is pretty rusty, but I haven't seen any like degradation of thickness. Like it's more of a surface rust, like a light pitting. So I'm hoping with like a surface conditioning tool, I can, you know, take that down and get a good idea of the structural integrity of the frame. If needed, I'll box it. But I'm hoping, you know, kind of like there, you know, there's still some good metal there, so I'm hoping it's not too bad. So that's the frame. Let's take a look on the inside. Oh yeah, these guys, all your typical rust points are rotted, have to be rebuilt. New metal. Now inside of the cab, probably the bottom 2 inches of the front of the cab will have to be replaced. Floorboard, whole new floorboard, or at least a good chunk of it. The wheel wells are okay. Yeah, I won't have to go too far off it, but still, you know, the bottom 2 inches or so. Because, you know, again, this was in upstate New York, and it sat for so long that I think, you know, it was sitting in like the forest of upstate New York. So all the trees dropped stuff and got inside of here, and it just held the moisture. And so it's going to need a lot of help. Yeah, up here, I'll probably have to rebuild this corner. The previous owner, oh yeah, he stuck a Chevy. This is a Chevy 250 out of like a 67 step van. And it fits, it runs. I got it running. I can put up a little video of it running. Ran okay, but it's, yeah, I tried running it a couple months ago and I just was spewing oil out of everywhere because, like, you know, it's got this, I think, oil pressure line that plugs down here. I'm disconnected, so it's just spewing oil, and yeah, it doesn't fit great. Like you see, they kind of mangled the alternator and make it fit. It's like touching the water pump, and you know, they mangled sheet metal, and especially over there in the corner. We'll take a better look at it on the other side. And they mangled the housing to make it fit. And it's not a great engine. I have no desire in spending the effort to make it look nice and run nice. So I'm probably going to do a motor swap, and we'll talk about that in a minute when we get to the plan. Everything on the heater is frozen, so I'll have to either find a donor or pull it apart and rebuild it. I got a little bit of an ashtray, so, you know, enough to, hopefully I can make a mold and stamp out some new ones. That's kind of my idea. I think, you know, to do this, I could probably do this on my 30-ton press, you know, make a mold. I feel like I can do something that small on the press, so I'll maybe try to do that. Get rid of, you know, this stuff. Dashboard, I got all the pieces of the dash. I've even got the little skirt underneath the steering wheel, and it's over there, so that's good. So I got all the dash, I got the nameplate, got some of the original gauges, some aftermarket gauges. We'll look at the other ones over there. That's it up here. See, I got doors wired shut, so we'll leave that one closed. None of the doors really close great, so I wired them shut when I'm driving down the road, because just yesterday, a couple days ago, one of the wires came loose and the door came open, so it happens. I had to stop, pull over, and rewire it with some better wire. On this side, this door actually one of the few that latches, but you can see, yeah, it's got some movement to it, so, which means likely the structure in here is compromised. So when I deskin this door, I'll probably have to reinforce and rebuild the hedges. Yeah, I mean, that's probably why. And this door is even worse. Like, it's a good inch, half an inch hanging too low, so the latch, I can't get the latch to engage, which again, that one, I have to wire it shut. But yeah, in here, yeah, you can see how the previous owner, he reworked this to make it fit. And I don't know, I may restore it back, or just, you know, depending on what I need to do to get the new engine in here, I may just clean it up and make it a more professional look rather than this like riveted solution that he did. But yeah, driver's side, I think is, yeah, it's worse. Like he replaced the whole floorboard with some aluminum, riveted aluminum, so whole new floorboard in here. So yeah, it's even worse over here. So I have to rebuild this whole corner. And then battery box, whole bottom of the battery box is rotted. The shroud is, I mean, it's okay condition. He mangled it. Let's close this. He mangled it to make it fit the motor. So whatever I'll do, I don't know, I may keep the shape, but I'll fix this so it's not so unsightly. Take off this pad he put on here. because like really the top of the thing's right here, and this is just too high for my comfort, you know, compared to the steering wheel. So I'll take that off and I'll actually upholster on like a nice pad, like a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch so foam kind of thing. But we'll talk about that in the plan. So yeah, you can see here it's pretty bad. Oh, I haven't even talked about the roof yet. Roof is unsalvageable. I mean, it's almost as bad as they get. Let's see, let's get it come around here. Yeah, I don't know. Lighting's a little bad, so you may not be able to see it, but it's completely rotted. Open it up. I mean, when I picked it up, I had to like strap the roof down so it wouldn't fly away on me. So it's gonna have to be new steel all around. I do have a donor cab that's in a little better shape, but you know, it's a donor cab, so it's not. It was essentially scrap anyways, so it's slim pickings on these kind of cabs. Then yeah, the back is worse. And yeah, there's holes and you can see through it. I've got it wired down so it doesn't try to fly off. Oh, there goes my lock for this door. So yeah, I'm envisioning almost an entire entire roof will have to be replaced, as well as the gutter around here. Yeah, I mean, just look at it. It's not salvageable. So I'll probably end up having to cut the whole roof off and just make a new one, or find a donor. Back window, I don't know, probably I may have to just make a whole new piece to replace this one, or at least, you know, 1 inch of this piece. So yeah, it's pretty bad. But again, you know, they only made so many of these, and there's only 50 or 60 known survivors, so in my mind it's worth putting the work into to save this one. So I think that's it on Triage. So I don't think there's anything else to really look at. I mean, undercarriage is your standard. It's still got the T98, no, not the T98, the T90 in it, the 3-speed. But it doesn't turn very well. Like, I've got like drive shafts disconnected up there, so something's wrong with it. It doesn't shift, so it probably needs to be gone through. But you know, that'll change with the engine I end up putting back into it. All right, so that's Triage. Let's talk plan. So I've kind of touched on a few of the plan things. You know, ultimately all the sheet metal will have to be fixed. That's step 1 through 20 of this project. I may not do those right away. I may focus on trying to get it drivable so I can at least move it around and get it somewhat presentable so I can store it outside of my house, because you know, I've only got a 3-car garage to work with and a bunch of tools crammed in there, so I've got to have a balance between keeping it in the garage and keeping it out on the driveway, or taking it back to my parents' place where they've got some property to store it. But if it's there, I can't work on it, so I'd like to keep it here as much as possible. So yeah, step 1 through 20, sheet metal. And then I've got upholstery. You know, I'll redo all the upholstery on it. The good thing is I still have the original back seat, so I'll redo this, refurbish it. I've got donor front seats, so I'll maintain those. I'll reupholster those. Pretty much on the inside, you know, I'll just kind of do a basic side panels on all the doors, you know, headliner, nothing too crazy. And so kind of bring it a little more modernized on the upholstery so it looks nice and it works well. But then driveline, just like I mentioned before, like I have zero desire to try to mess with this motor. It's not the original motor, so to me it's not worth spending the time or effort into it. If it was the original 3-cylinder Surlist, that would be a different story. I would feel obligated to keep it and restore it stock, but since it's not, and I'm having to put all this work into it, figure I'm gonna go ahead and put in the motor I want. And so do a teaser on it. It's not a motor I don't think anyone has tried to put in these. It'll barely fit. It's a 4-cylinder, and I think I'll leave it at that. I'll just tease it. It's super cool. I think it'll push this thing around just fine, and it's super modern. But again, I'll do a different video series on the engine and the engine I ended up choosing for this. So that's going to make a lot of decisions on the overhaul. One of them is the engine that I'm getting. The transmission that comes with it is a driver's side transfer case. So that means the pumpkin's on the wrong side for this one. So I'm ultimately going to have to either switch the axles, which I don't really want to do, or B, retube this axle to essentially move the pumpkin to exactly the same position, but on the other side. That way I can just flip the axles over. That's probably going to be what I'm going to do, because I want to keep on these axles, specifically on the M-677. They had the power. I think it's called the power lock. It's like a clutch-based limited slip on these pumpkins. So I really want to keep that. This one's a Dana 44 closed knuckle. The back one's a Dana 53. So my plan is to keep the axles. I just may have to rework this one to make it work. I'm not going to mess with suspension. I'm going to keep it leaf, just because leaf works fine in my mind. These springs I think have been oversprung, because you probably can't see, but yeah, they're not straight. They're going the opposite direction, like the bottom three are going downward, which to me means they've overloaded this, which I think, they had a plow on it at one time, which is likely why these springs are screwed up. So I'll either get them re-arched or see if I can find an equivalent spring stack that I can put in place of them. So, but suspension wise and everything else, I will ultimately keep the same. Steering, I'll probably keep the steering. I don't want to mess with any of these like power steering pump systems that people have been putting on. I may end up going that way, but to start, I'll just rebuild and refurbish this existing system. I'll probably get, I think, what is it, One Off-Road. I think it's Roy Wallace's company. He's got that reinforced steering component, so I'll probably do that for this guy to kind of stiffen this up, because there's definitely probably 20 degrees of slop in the steering right now. Yeah, so that's suspension, steering, keep the same. I am going to do electric power steering, so I haven't decided yet. The new engine I have came with the steering wheel and steering column, so I'll either adapt that one onto here, or I'll take this one and machine out a gap to put in the electric power steering out of like a Prius or something. I know a few guys have done that with good success, so I'll probably do that as well. Let's see what else. Oh, I guess I forgot to show you guys the gauges on this. So the gauges are in rough shape. Kids shot all the gauges. Everything was glass. The kids shot with BBs. So I believe this is the original military gauge, 41,000 miles, which is probably pretty accurate. But I don't know if I'll be able to refurbish this guy. So haven't decided yet what I want to do with this. So okay, I guess. What do we got next? Let's see. What else on plan? We've got, like I said, the rear bumper will come off, or this thing will come off, and I'll probably keep the existing bumper as is. I'm missing the front bumper, so I'll remake one that has similar theme. Like I like these loops, so I'll either build just a brand new one of these out of 6-inch channel and bend some eyes, or I'll make kind of a more modern bumper like you see on an off-road rig, but include these kind of hooks on them. But yeah, this thing's going definitely, and I'll maintain this guy. Let's go say hi to Sydney. Sydney, what's going on? You want to come say hi? Sydney, hi. Can you sit? Can you sit? This is not so helpful helper, Sydney. She just wants attention. All right, back inside. Back inside again. Back inside. Can you sit? Sit. Stay. Good. So gas tank wise, there's no gas tank, but the motor I got came with the gas tank, so I'll probably end up using the tank that came with it. That one's not going to be an elegant solution. It's bigger than I can fit anywhere, but at this point I don't really want to do a different tank. I like the idea of using the tank that came with it, so I will make it fit here. That one will be interesting. Let's see. Oh, I guess light-wise. Here, let's look at the front lights. So that's another plan. You know, I'll probably just replace these with some, you know, modern LEDs. Definitely going to keep these guys. I'll re-glass these and turn them into turn signal and running lights. And then I think I'll also machine a ring and put LEDs, you know, somehow get some LEDs either in the screw holes, or, you know, kind of modernize this with some LEDs. So I think that'll look really cool. Mentioned front bumper. You know, making something for it. I haven't decided quite yet. And get glass. I get all new glass cut for everything. And yeah, I think I got my work cut out for me. That's for sure. Oh, I guess tire wise, I'll probably keep similar sized tires. I like the fat look of these. You know, these guys are these Dick, I don't know, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like Dick Chepaki. You know, these are these Baja high flotation tires. Let's get a close-up of it. I'm sure some of the old timers may recognize that. That's a little before my time. But yeah, so that's the plan. Let's talk a few pitfalls. One of the pitfalls I mentioned was the axle. So that one's going to be a challenge. Yeah, I'm going to have to rework that to make the drive lines work. Another pitfall I know is the length of the engine and transmission is going to leave about a 20-inch drive shaft. A little worried about that, but you know, all the reading I've done says, you know, as long as I have my pinion angle set up correctly, it's not a big deal. So yeah, that'll be a potential pitfall. Definitely gonna do disc brakes all around. I guess I missed that on the plan. I don't see any pitfalls with that. I'll do disc brakes with brake booster. If you guys have done that before. Let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, those are gonna be the big pitfalls, is making everything fit. The new engine I have is, you know, it's modern, so more modern than this one. So it's got a lot of stuff that's gonna have to cram in there. So that's gonna be a major pitfall. You're fixing all the sheet metal. That's just gonna, I don't even know at this point how long that's gonna take me. Potentially years, I hope not. My plan is to at least have this thing drivable this year, whether that's just as it looks with a, you know, the frame and an engine in it. That could be what that means. Not sure yet. Let's see what other pitfalls. I think that's about it. So, you know, hopefully I gave you guys enough information to keep your attention, and I hope you subscribe and follow along. All right, this is Tucker signing off. Take it easy.